When you run around in hopeless circles, judging everything you ever knew, you're at the age of not believing when all the make-believe is through. Alright. So remember I mentioned that when I was a kid I used to watch Mary Poppins all the time. Well, a lot of the times, when I wasn't watching the Bill and Ted movies, it would be Mary Poppins followed by Bedknobs and Broomsticks. And this one, it's got a lot of the same heart as Mary Poppins. It has the same director, Robert Stevenson. It has the same songwriters, the Sherman Brothers. Always fantastic songs. And David Tomlinson. Back again. Third movie review I've done with him. And that's pretty much it. I think he only did 3 Disney movies, which is weird. But as far as I could tell. But yes. And we have Angela Lansbury as our leading lady. And she plays Miss Eglantine Price, who lives in London in 1940 during the beginnings of World War II. Where they are... She not lives in London. She lives in the countryside. Pepperidge Eye. Pepperidge Eye is what it's called. Don't know if that's a real place or not, but... And she is tasked with taking in these 3 children. Michael? No. Charles. Paul. And Carrie Rawlins. Rawlins. Not like Seth Rollins, but Rawlins, I think. And they soon discover that she's actually a witch, an apprentice witch. And she's not so good, but, you know. And she finds out that she's not going to get this one last spell, a spell that she was going to use to help the war effort, and that is the substitutionary locomotion spell, which would make inanimate objects animate, inanimate objects come to life and help fight the war effort, which would be cool. So she and the kids travel on a magic traveling bed. Yes, that's a thing. They go to London. Bring the kids to London where the bombs are falling. That's nice. And, you know, I noticed that for the bombs falling in London, sure, not people walking through the streets. But anyway, they search for Professor Emilius Brown, played by Tomlinson, to get that last spell. But as it turns out, the book that he has with the spells, well, it's ripped. And the last page of the book is missing. And so they are approached by a man with a mustache whose name I don't remember. And he brings them to the bookman, who has the other half. But it turns out having the other half of the book doesn't do jack shit for you, because you need the Star of Astaroth, which they travel to the Isle of Nabumbu, which is fully animated, and they meet the King Lion, who has the Star of Astaroth. So they're able, with the help of Professor Brown, at a soccer match, or football as they call it over there, they get the star. But the problem is, when they come back, the star is animated, which never really made any sense to me, because Astaroth was a real person, right? I don't know. It disappears. But luckily for them, Paul has memorized them. Triguna Macoites Tricorum Satis D. Triguna Macoites Tricorum Satis D. Substitutionary locomotion, mystic powers that's far beyond the wildest notion. It's so feared, so sweet, so wonderful to see. Substitutionary locomotion, come to me. Triguna Macoites Tricorum Satis D. Don't want. I can't do the backwards reverse. They, you know, like Mary Poppins do that. Dosi. Well, you can say it backwards, which is Dosi Dos extrafragicalorupus. Dos. Yeah, I used to say it backwards all the time. We can't say it backwards. This is dos. We can't say it backwards. It's Dosi. Never mind. I can't say it. I'll be able to. When I'm done with this review, I'll be able to say it just fine. Dosi. It's like I'm trying to say it, but the words aren't. Do. So supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. So docious califragilisticexpialidocious. That's going a bit too far, don't you think? Indubitably. But yeah, so they're able to get this to work, but it kind of backfires on them. But they do get it to work. But then the shit hits the fan, so to speak. Mrs. Hobday, who is a matchmaker, we find out in the extended version, I'll get to that in a minute, shows up, and because before she promised Miss Price she could find a suitable home. Well, they have a home now. But then Professor Brown decides he's going to leave and he's going to go to this train station, but he sleeps there. That's when the Nazis invade. It's a training exercise. They invade, and the first house they go to is Miss Price's house, I guess. How unfortunate for them. And they lock them away, but she's able to use the spell with the help of Professor Brown, who turns himself into a rabbit. There's a running joke where she keeps turning him into the rabbit. Happens a couple of times. He turns himself into a rabbit by looking into a mirror. He's able to get to them. They do the thing. These inanimate objects save the day, and the Nazis run away. And as we know, the war lasted till 1945, I believe. But yeah, at the beginning of this film, they are covering up road signs so that the Nazis won't be able to find Pepperidge Eye. I don't know. But yes, like I want to say, there are two versions of this film that I didn't know about. Around the same time I got Mary Poppins, I was younger than high school then, Bedknobs and Broomsticks on a DVD. And when I went to watch it, it was an extended version. An extended version, it's a decent film. It's what the film was intended to be before it was cut down to a shorter runtime. It's a decent watch with only a couple things that are kind of minor details that I don't really care for. Voice dubbing, because some of the actors and actresses that passed away, specifically David Tomlinson, they decided to redub their voices. And now when they do you can tell Angela Lansbury's lines are dubbed because it's an older, weathered voice. But whoever they had dubbed for Mrs. Hobday was perfect. The kids, not so much. And it's they got voice actor Jeff Bennett to do the dubbing for Professor Brown. And there's a difference. He tries to have that British kind of sound, but it doesn't. There are some people that can do people's voices, and it's not so. You can tell when it changes. There's an extra song which was played in a TV version actually back in the late 90s, early mid 90s, that I remember. That one where she's Angela Lansbury singing while she's picking up the table. Which is a decent song. And then there's the other thing that is kind of negative about this is that there's an extended version of the Portobello Road sequence where there's more dancing and stuff. It's already long as it is, but with the extended version, I always skipped forward out of it. Not that the dancing isn't bad, it just takes forever, especially the extended version. But, it's fun. I do recommend the extended version. It's the version that was supposed to be watched. I even think in the end where the bookman he says they had the bookman show a scene where Bookman says, "As I see, suffice to say, I'm glad to see it all together. Finally see it all together for the first time. Or something like that. Something like that. But yeah, this is a fun film. One more thing I have to talk about, and that's the ending. So the whole thing is that the kids have nowhere to belong to. Miss Price lives all alone. And Professor Brown is alone. But they all fight each other in this. And even the thing why Professor Brown leaves before the Nazis invade is because he's not sure if he belongs here. By the end of the film, he is sure. Then he decides to join the Old Home Guard and leave them because he wants to be part of the war effort. But what was the point of this whole message of bringing them all together if he's just going to leave? I always thought that was kind of a weird ending, a weird way to end on. Just like, wait, this was all about bringing them together, and now he's leaving. And all this, bye-bye! And he's like, I'm going off to get horribly killed in the war. That sounded more like John Cleese than David Tomlinson, but still. But anyway, this film is fantastic. I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. It's not as good as Mary Poppins. I don't think I watched as much as Mary Poppins, but it's still a fantastic film. A Disney classic for sure. So 9 out of 10 it is. So what are your thoughts on Bedknobs and Broomsticks? Yes, I'm going to keep calling it that. Let me know in the comment below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. And tomorrow, it's a brazzle-dazzle day. So put on your cares and everything in it. That's the brazzle-dazzle way.